Hey y'all. I I wanted to do a video that um it's not the easiest thing to talk about or the most awesome subject. But I wanted to title this video Cancer Through His Daughter's Eyes because for the past 4-ish years my dad has been struggling with cancer. He, back in, I want to say January of 2010, I'm going to move this a little bit, kind of turn this way. I'm in my daughter's room. She's having a sleepover and all the girls are in the living room, so I'm in her room. But in January of 2010, he went to the doctor because he had a spot on the side of his face right here. And it started out looking very similar to a pimple. And then, very rapidly, the skin, it ate itself inward. So he went to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist didn't even, look at him. They did, but basically she said, I'm sending you straight to MD Anderson, which is, if you don't know what MD Anderson is, in the Houston area, we live very close to Houston. Really in the United States, it's one of the best places to go if you have cancer. But anyway, so they sent him there, and at that point they told him he had squamous cell cancer, and that the place had eaten so far in that it had deteriorated his jawbone, and it was in his lymph nodes on this side, and even some of his eardrum and ear canal was compromised from it. Anyway, basically what they did was they went in and they took all of those cells that anywhere around it and on there, they took them all out. I want to say it was March 10th, 2010. They took all of it out and replaced all of it. They took with a flap of skin and tissue that they cut off of his leg. They put it there. Because of this, he lost hearing in this ear. He has a huge place right here where the skin doesn't match because it was skin from his leg, but instead of having a hole, he has that. He lost all the lymph nodes on this side of his neck. All of that contained the squamous cell cancer cells or whatever. And the nature of it, they have to go in and keep taking tissue away until they find tissue that's healthy and doesn't contain the cancer cells in it. So anyway, he was in surgery for 14 hours. That was the longest 14 hours of my entire life. He was back there. Every hour, the nurse that was in the room with him would come out and call our names. They'd say Patton, which is my maiden name and my dad's last name. And we'd go, 2 people could go in this little room with the nurse and they could give you an update. They tell you his vitals and where they were at in the surgery. Anyway, that was the longest thing ever. And they had told us that this would drastically change his appearance. But at the time when they tell you things like that, that's not what you focus on. You more focus on him. And anyway, we didn't focus on that too much. At least I didn't. And so whenever he came out of surgery, he went to ICU and intensive care unit. And they said, okay, in so many, I think it was an hour, everyone can go in and see him. And of course, me and my mom and my sister wanted to be the first people to go in there. So they say, okay, you can go in there. And the lady said, she's like, I just want to warn you, the intensive care unit is not fun. It's scary, quiet. And, just be mindful of what all is going on. So I had been so strong during this whole entire thing. I just said, I'll be fine. But when I walked around the corner and I saw him for the first time without half of his face, basically, I can't tell you the feeling that it was to see the face of your dad that you have seen for the past how many years completely changed because of cancer. And for him, who was always such a strong force of my life, a rock, a strong part, to see him completely vulnerable and just under sedation and laying there, I couldn't handle it. I just said, oh my God, and I just walked away. I couldn't go in there right then. I had to go collect myself. Anyway, so long story short, they got it all, and he was fine. For several years, he would go to his checkups. Every once in a while at his checkups, they would find a spot and they'd biopsy and it would be nothing. Or anyway, and I should mention that after his surgery, that was in March. He started in June, I believe. Very focused radiation on this area. Not where they put the new flap where they took the tissue out, but mainly the lymph node area where they had taken the lymph nodes out, but still that area. They started very focused radiation, and that was really hard on him too. But anyway, so every year after, he would go check up twice a year. And like I said, sometimes they'd find a spot on the MRI or the CAT scan or whatever it would be, and then they would always biopsy and it would be okay, and da-da-da-da-da. Well, about a year ago, I started noticing that he had like a few spots on his head. Not, I wouldn't say that the spots they didn't look like it did before. They looked different, but there was a few of them. Well, I don't know why, and this is not because of lack of caring or understanding or anything for my dad, but I stopped kind of focusing on that and focusing a lot on stuff that was just going on with myself. Well, I would say maybe like October. I also started noticing that this is October of last year, he never was without a hat on, and he wasn't getting haircuts. And those two things were something, he works a lot, and every other Friday that he was off, he was always getting a haircut. And that was just something he's done my whole life. Just get a haircut. He wasn't doing that. His hair was longer, and he was wearing a hat constantly, and he would never take the hat off in front of you. He stopped going to church and like going to places where he had to take the hat off. So I started hopping on him, Dad, what's going on? Why won't you take your hat off? We need to go to a checkup, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, it had been almost a year since he had a checkup. And anyway, so fast forward to 2 Saturdays ago. Like a lot of weekends, we were in our yard, working in our yard. There's quite a bit of land around us, and we're always cutting down trees and planting things and just doing stuff outside. Well, we were all of us, the whole family, everybody, was outside working in the yard, and my husband and my dad had just cut a tree down. Well, right after they cut it down, my husband came over to me and said, "Where's a roll of paper towels?" And I was like, I guess in the shop, like where the food stuff is. Anyway, so he goes and gets the roll of paper towels and he brings them out. And my dad walks over and he's crying, and I'm like, "Did you cut yourself? Are you hurt? Like, did one of y'all hurt yourself when you were cutting the tree down? Like, what is going on?" And he said, "I have something to tell y'all." And he said, I have cancer again. And I said, "How do you know? Like, what do you mean? How do you know?" And he said, I have cancer again. I wanted us all to go to Disney and spend time together, and that's over with, and I'm ready to get this taken care of and see what's wrong. And so I'm like thinking, okay, he has a bunch of spots, like he's worried about a bunch of spots. My sister's like, let me see, let me see it. Let me see the spot. And I'm not kidding you guys. He takes his cap off, and on his head right here is like it's bigger than a golf ball, but I don't know, maybe the size of 2 golf balls. Tumor sticking out of the top of his head. Massive. And it's bleeding and it's rotting, and it's just, if you've ever seen a tumor, it was just horrifying. I lost my breath. I couldn't breathe. I was devastated that this was there and none of us knew about it. None of us saw it. None of us. And our first question to him was like, why have you not said anything to any of us? Like, my mom, who lives with him and is married to him, she didn't see this. And it was just, it was insane. And my heart was broken that he was going to have to do this again. I don't care about myself. I can be put through that every single day. But him, that what he had to go through and he had to go through afterwards is something that I can't fathom, because I've never had anything like that happen to me. So my heart broke for him, and not to mention the financial burden that cancer puts on people. I mean, I can't even tell you how much money my parents still owe, and they have really good insurance that they still owe to MD Anderson from last time that this happened. Anyway, so I immediately, this was a Saturday afternoon, I called the emergency number for his oncologist, and the person picked up, and I told him what was going on, and they transferred me down to the emergency room of MD Anderson. And at that point, the emergency room said, come on in, which it's not easy for us to say, come on in. We live 100 miles from there, but we did. Me, my mom, dad, and sister all got in the car and drove there, and they did a CAT scan and some blood work and all kinds of stuff. And thank God this time it wasn't, because it wasn't to his skull. It's all the way through the skin layers, all the way to the skull, but it isn't actually, it hasn't compromised his skull at all. He has about 5 spots, this being the worst. There's another bad one on the very top. There's 2 on either, there's 2 like on the back, like the back part of your neck, like where your neck bends back there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then there's like maybe 2, there's either 1 or 2 little ones, like right, it's mainly this side. 2 more little ones in the back. So yesterday we went to MD Anderson again, and he met with Dr. Lai, which is his surgeon, and his oncologist and head and neck specialist, however they classify it. And the plan of action this time is to do something very similar. They did biopsy all of them just to clarify that they're not missing something. But they biopsied all of them, and plan of action at this point is they're going to remove this. And like I said last time, they told us, we're going to remove that, but it ended up being way bigger because there was more cells and tissue there than they could see just from the outside. It was, anyway. So they're going to remove all of the cells that I'm going to say infected, that are cancerous. And they're going to cut his leg again, take a flap, and put it back here. And so not only does the poor man have this side of his face doesn't match the rest of him and is disfigured, now the top of his head is going to be, and they're going to shave his head, and it's going to be another long road, and he can't have radiation again. You're very limited to the amount of radiation exposure that you can have in your lifetime, and I believe he's at that point. So the only thing that they can do after is chemo, and I honestly don't think that he's going to do it. It's just he's an older guy, and he's had a lot of health problems, and he's not, at this point, I don't know. I can't make a decision for him. He's going to make a decision. But, so that's where we're at. Everything will get scheduled after a series of appointments next week. They'll schedule the surgery. So, I'll definitely keep you guys updated. I'm not trying to make anyone feel sorry for me, because it's not me that you should feel sorry for. I think that anyone who's been in this situation where a family member or your parents or whatever has done this, it's very difficult on you, but you don't think about that. My focus is him and what I can do to make this easier for him. Anything I can do for him, make him happy, make him smile, comfort him in any way. That's what my focus is right now, and I've made that very clear to him. And I don't care if I'm not happy, or I don't eat, or I don't sleep. That's not the focus right now. It's him. So if you're someone who prays, I would appreciate prayers for him, that this is easier for him than it was last time. It's not an easy thing, but I just want God to wait to lessen his load this time on that, and just help him be at peace with whatever happens, whatever it is. And it's very hard to see him, and I think most people feel this way about their father, to see someone who is there. He's my support and my rock, and to see them struggle and be broken and you can't fix it is very hard. So but he's gonna make it, and he's gonna be fine. And I just hate for him to have to do this again. This is just so it's sad. Cancer is sad. It really is. So this is the video for today. I did take some footage earlier of our morning, but this was really on my heart, so I wanted to share. But I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, great Friday night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.